Hey everyone, very serious topic. This is a poetry book that was sent to me anonymously in support of a union being formed at Geico. It's a satirical and exaggerated look at some of the problems with the company under current leadership. It follows Tiny Tim and his experiences at the fictional lizard farm. Strap in, enjoy, and lead them to paradise.
Disclaimer. This is a work of parody. Nothing in this book is to be taken as literal fact. It is meant to only certainly contain emotional truths. Lizard Farm, by user 391. Douay Rhymes Bible, Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. A deceitful balance is an abomination before the Lord, and a just weight is his will. 2. Where pride is, there also shall be reproach, but where humility is, there also is wisdom. This is a story told through poems in the style of a Broadway musical about a slave who works on the lizard farm and longs to escape, culminating in his quest to retrieve his hopes and dreams from the Todd's office.
Poem number 1, Introduction. The world is a place of opportunity. When life goes on, paradise disappears so distantly. Vague passing shades flow into nothingness. It was so many years ago when I started working at this lizard farm. I told myself, just a week more and someday I'll be far from this place. All I wanted was someone to hear my voice. Already stifled, I did not realize when I signed on that I signed my life away. Oh God, bury me far away where the bottom line is all that's on the top of the Todd's mind. So much has changed, and after work, the weight on my hands crosses me. And I feel I cannot lift my voice or my fingers even to write. Powerless under the weight of bitter machinery, the cycle of work bears down on me, fearing that I soon may lose my soul. But somewhere in the distance I was walking down a bitter road, and I saw my hopes and dreams. I caught them like fireflies, visions of a family I would have, a home, in a happier world away from here, away from a world dictated by fear, where my song could sing uninhibited by these spears, wounded by the terrible promise of pain, of the cold, bitter winds, tortured every moment during the day. My hand violently torn away from the paper, on which only there I had the power to scribe, a path away, using all my hopes and dreams, as bright light and also as ink upon the pages of this very book, shielding this book with all my might from tragedy. The spells within this book of mine resonated forever with power, giving me the patience to keep living. Even while working on Lizard Farm, where I am just a number, and human spirit is nothing valued and unhinged scales measure what is right and wrong. The empty face of a corporation, centralization of power, on the farm. I watched the slaves tire away, wages next to nothing. The work taking away. All of a soul, souls that were exhausted were taken and served on a platter to the Todd. Ever since he took over, the farm by the reins, there will be no more soul, only care for capital gains. No more Mr. Nicely Guy. This place can go up in flames. If it's good for the gander, it's good for the goose. What's good for a lizard? A hungry one, too. Eating up money like rain from the sky, like tears of your dreams, that he eats and keeps him alive. Not only the souls of the slaves, but the souls of those unfortunate patrons who chose to do business with this lizard farm. Far be insurance to do you no harm. Oh, quite to the contrary, we're under its spell, when business as usual is life lived in hell.
Welcome to the lizard farm, where the life could never be more exciting. It's never a better time to be a slave. 12 years of service. We're here together, and we're making waves.
Just at that moment, the Todd entered the room. The place was silent and not a soul dared speak, for power is proven by attacking the weak.
Get back to work. I'm the new CEO. No more Mr. Nicely Guy. There'll be some changes and some rules that need to be imposed on. You lazy little fucks, my bottom line ain't nothing. Without the cash flow, you see, life as a millionaire isn't so satisfying. I need some hopes and dreams to eat. Because I need money to blow, I'm the hedge fund manager of the Lizard Emperor. No, I don't like to play around. There'll be some changes on this farm. First things first. You guys, there will be AI. I'm talking Cyberdyne systems, new metrics, new principles, no low cost or integrity. Based on chance, because anything less hurts my bottom line, you see it costs too much to pay folks? To actually monitor like a human, open your heart, and let smoke of the new industry flood in. And by the way, I'm letting 6% out the door. Y'all can get gutted by a bright, shiny knife. No more pay, better luck elsewhere. You see, you need me, there'll be no success elsewhere, might as well be the end of your life. All people say we're the low-cost provider. Now back to your desks. I know it's shock to the system. Goodbye so long. I've got a new yacht to buy.
And with that speech, he left with a smile and glint in his eye, a smirk on his face, but was only 15 miles wide. For a smile any longer would have cost you out of pocket. No heart and no soul, no 3-day window, no piece or extension on your cancellation notice. In like manner, he left the room. It was about to get lit by that, unpredictable, and what happened next would forever test the spirits of those chained to their desks.
Oh no, what do we do? Is this the life we chose? It's not what we wanted to become. Life on the phones is about to be so much more fun.
Signing into work. My heart is already strung out as it is. Another day here makes hell look like bliss. A prayer, a reflection, an archangel's kiss. I better do my best, sign on and take some calls. Lord knows if I'll find the strength to continue it all.
My rate just went up 150%. This is ridiculous. That's more than my rent. I'm on a fixed income and I'm a single mom.
The street will be a fun place for you. You heard it from the Todd. Reduce the surplus population of our bad business. We don't need you with us. Stop acting the victim. You don't need to come whining. What you needed was an abortion. It's not too late. Here's a gun and some rope. Come back to me when your problem is solved. I don't care what you go through. Not my business at all. So my phone agents, hey, they're not licensed therapists, but let's raise the standard of excellence to 76%. Without merit raises, they also can't pay rent.
And with that, Tiny Tim sighed and put his hands to his face. A life lived as a slave here would be a life put to waste.
Free me from this prison, Archangel of Insurance. Blur the lines between what I can do and outside my control as I sit here and they hurl at me abuse. A game of sick chance, no more and no less. No more nights on the town or time out with friends. I will weep and just sit here. No hope in the end.
And all you are aware of the changes to this job. I know it's a shock. I know you're in pain. But work is the best medicine for capital gains.
The pen chained far away, and the words are bursting through. A call comes in. Yes, they're back to back. A life I live inside of myself. I contemplate my future, and the brief remaining days of my life. The falling rain outside, the glowing supernova sky. Away, away. A calling and a hand outstretched, stripped away. The edging of time. And its curtain is closing. The memories are burning. Being taken so far away, a broken heart burns here and now, and each moment in time passes slowly, to not be the master of my own thoughts. There's no power, a life eaten away at, hour by hour. I had a dream, in the night safe in my sheets, that I had a beautiful home, away from this place in a world I've never known. Somewhere in the dark is a voice calling my name, but here in this moment I'm chained to my desk with a 50-50 chance I might just pay my rent. A voice deep inside me, a pen far from my hand, memories forgotten. I am a slave in this plant. Somewhere, the wind calls me to run far away. It's time to calculate performance metrics so they flip some coins. It ought to be illegal, but instead, we are blamed for all the mistakes that we've never made. Playing the victim is all we'll ever do, when we're stripped of power and left homeless too. Credit card debt, the bills adding up, the cost of inflation, it hit like a truck. Of the man who was 1 penny short 1 second too late on a cancelled policy, no one pays for claims. If there is an angel to summarize my concern, come down from the sky, lift me up like a prayer, blur the lines between my heart and yours. Up above, a place far from here, knows the power of love, the life here is nothing. My supervisor calls me in, takes some dice and rolls them and says, that's my new score. Just a few shots of bad luck, and I'll be out the door. Fire me already, it's a hell of a place. An angel, a calling, a truth in the flames. I'm not the one who is wrong. No, I won't take the blame. The lights are only gaslights. It's how they see everything all over the building. You cannot save what's rotten, just chop down the tree. I, however, am stuck here chained to my desk buying up Bitcoin, and hope for the best. A little rat poison never hurt nobody, except for the rat. It would be the end of him, a life and a victim, an ocean of pain. Come greet me, angel. Come call me by name. Somewhere in the distance I found it during my break there. They were my hopes and my dreams. I took them and cherished them and made them my own. I kept them a secret, knowing they'd lead me home to a place where I would never stray too far from the fire. A light to put out the gaslights, a true sacred fire. If you know one thing about me, this is all you need to know. I searched all my life to find them. I would even sell my soul for a chance to find the light that I sought. A truth. A pen mightier, and our true worth is measured not with raw strength, not even pens in our hands, but hearts burning like fire, spread across the land. Come greet me, my forever. Come sooner than later. I kept the orb of my hopes and dreams, a secret for now. A weapon I could use. A power to guard. It would guide me in dark places as I weather through the calls. A life lived in chains, here is no life at all. Poem number 3, Song of the Soup Call. I miss freedom more than life. I hold my heaven far away, the orb of my hopes and dreams. It's glowing on my desk, taking calls as my life and soul is slowly being eaten away. Someone come and save me from the spirit of capital gains. Where love is gone, so is all faith. All I have is the bright glowing orb, inside my hopes and dreams. Swim, like fireflies, bouncing off the round walls. I cannot move. I am chained to my desk. Every second is monitored. There's few moments of rest.
Ring! Ring! You see, I've got a bit of a problem. My dad died from cancer not so long ago. My life's on the line, and the tax man won't go. He's banging on my door with a gun and wants money. Could you please do something about my insurance rates? I know it's much to ask, but this rate's too damn high. If it goes any higher, I feel my kids just might die. Of starvation from all the money you take, can't you just cut me a break?
And at that moment, Tiny Tim felt sick to his soul. There's nothing he could do. He had no control. Because Lizard Farm had control, there's no way to lower the rate. When wages are nothing, they always inflate. Prices have now increased by 500%. Eviction notice pending on the overdue rent. Where do you go when you have not a home? Who will have mercy? When the gospel is gone, leave it to Todd and the spirit of capital gains to sell Lizard Farm to Amazon. But first cut out the chaff, decrease the bad business, and reduce all the staff. And Tiny Tim thought about how he could respond to the question, for the gaslights that lit the room told him what to do, but no. Oh no, Tiny Tim. He refused. For what could he do but tell this man the truth?
I'm sorry to hear about the percentage increase. If I could do more, I'd do it for you. But I hate the Lizard Farm, just as much as you. You see, I never see the light of the day, chained to my desk, craving freedom all day. They say the grass might be greener on the other side. I can't imagine it, because I've lost my whole life. I see my hopes and my dreams in an orb, taking me nowhere but to where I perform. The same old song and dance all the days. All I have is a spark of a prayer. Oh God, show me a path out and take me there. Thus, there's nothing that I can do about this rate of yours, and there's no one I could transfer you to, because lizards think they need money much more than you. All day on a farm eating up claims and cascading on a ship falling to the earth, we will go down in flames. If there was anything I could do to help, believe me, I'd help you, but I must get this off my chest. Money is needed to appease the stockholders, and now I have the weight of their sins on my shoulders. Come save me from this centralization of power that eats me away hour by hour. Yes, the rate has gone up and there's nothing I can do. But you think I have magic powers, and I'm a licensed therapist too.
Sir! I don't like your attitude. You see, you have no idea what you're fucking talking about. Get me a soup, and don't tell me that. You change my rate, or I'll come find you with a baseball bat, and then you'll see that this world is cruel, and I hope it happens to you. I hope your mom, your cat, and your girlfriend all die, or else I'll beat you until you scream and you cry. Get me a soup now. I won't get off your line. This is the last day I'll ever be kind. You won't take my money. You won't take my soul. I hate all of you, you dirty little man. You little slimy lizards piss me off to no end. How dare you tell me, motherfucker, to cancel my policy, get me a manager, and I'll have them take your job. I hope your cat dies of cancer. You make my heart throb, like a heart attack's coming. Not good for my blood pressure. You need to be taught a true lesson. In respect for your elders, you damn little shit.
I'll connect you to my soup. May he be good to you. It's sad that the world is as cruel as you. Go talk to him and go waste your time. Hope it's resolved. Have a good rest of your life.
And with that, Tiny Tim clicked the button and hit transfer. For he was not qualified to handle this call, a lesson that can teach us, a lesson for all. Your insurance agent ain't your licensed therapist. There's nothing he can do to change your rate. Without changing your coverage, it's against the law to have insurance price negotiations in this country of ours. You should have taken the time to think before calling in instead of calling in to scream and to whine.
Yes, I'm a soup. And no, I cannot help you, but I can assist you and cancel your policy. It's time for a breakup. You can go out the door. If you can't send us money, then there's nothing we'll do, because the lizard is hungry. He eats dollar bills whole. The bigger the portfolio, the closer to the goal.
In my life, there are places I remember where the cold wind did not blow. Now I will sit alone, as what was built is taken from me, and what is taken from me is burned up, and the flames consume. What's left of a soul? This is my song as I burn the last piece of my soul, and everyone watches as I burn up in these flames. No power can save me from this living pain. As I go upstairs and take all the pills, then lie on the kitchen floor and fall and never arise again. A sleep is better than life sometimes. A heart is held in pain. A life of falling victim at last to capital gains.
And Tiny Tim had no idea of what happened on the other side of the phone. If he had known, maybe he'd quit his job, go to his address and tell him everything was okay, send him some money for a rainy day. However, none of this was possible. He was chained to his desk. He had no way of hearing, no way to know. Rebating is illegal, and he had no money either. So powerless was Tiny Tim, limbs stretched and bound, carrying himself through each dreary day, to a place he would find and hear the birdsong, a place in the dark where the spirits subside.
No one understands how deep the soul can be. A power of poetry, a power of song. Take me from this place, some way and somehow.
Poem number 4, The Tragic Loss of the Bright Shiny Orb. And so Tiny Tim pounded away at his desk, hating his life and getting no rest. Eyes were shot from working hours on end. He had to keep focused. He had to improve. Nothing could free him. There was no way to move or get him from his desk. A sad last existence. A place of no hope. A place of no resistance. For there was no union. No way to stand up. Imbalance of power and prayers not enough. Call after call came in every day. His mind filled with worries that would never go away. Now as he labored so hard at his desk, came Soup. Number 2, who was just walking past. What did he see but that bright shiny orb, filled with Tiny Tim's hopes and dreams, and the Soup became so enthralled. He wanted to have something to take to his boss. Management would be happy. More capital gains. Long ago they had cut off profit sharing. But the more they took, the hungrier they became. For this one desire had consumed their brains. Please the stockholders. Don't let them complain. At all costs they would get what they wanted deep down. When Soup number 2 swiped the orb off Tiny Tim's desk, there was quite a shock spread across his face. He never thought that the orb would be something they would take.
Thank you for your sacrifice of your bright shiny orb. This will please the Lizard Emperor. Now go back to work. He eats hopes and dreams. He needs them to live. Without your brave sacrifice, this company wouldn't exist. Now I'll be away trying to crack this thing open. I'll take it to the Todd's office where it will wait like a token. Those bright shiny lights inside, they'll please him to see. As he sits in his mansion, buying several more. One complaint out of you, and you're out the door. Now go back to work or I'll be asking for more.
And with that, Soup number 2 walked off with glee. A trophy he would give would get him a promotion. He walked into the meeting room and caused a commotion as he suddenly came and gave it to the Todd. who took it with a smile and congratulatory hug. The sky turned dark as the room was drained of love, shrieking sounds in the night, a vampiric howl, living off the blood of innocent ones. In their hearts a triumph, they crushed all resistance. They marched to the Todd's office as they got up and sang, voices ringing out amidst the weary rain pouring down. They party-rocked all night, knowing what they had taken, an error that would be their downfall. They were so mistaken. And when Tiny Tim realized what was taken from him, he held his head, and he cried. He thought he was dead. A life is over, with no hopes and no dreams. What could he do at the end of the shift? He walked through the streets and breathed the cold air. A life in a world where nobody cares. When you fall to the bottom, there'll be no one to lift you, not a care in the world, no way to escape. A sign and a warning for the human race. Get your shit together. We're all human, you know. Have some compassion and don't you dare hide. Behind corporate veil, a mask made of greed. Reach out to those who have nothing in their hour of need. This weight and this pressure that falls over us takes us forever and reduces us to dust. For it is a mystery why we strive to take a breath that is more dignified than the other, when all us end up in the same place, all in one to the ground, the fate of the human race. So maybe while we're here, have compassion on those who are left without shelter, food, without clothes. Make charity legal, make charity free, for only love is immortal. Nothing else will last. Change the corporate culture, and don't be an ass.
All my life, I've flowed my life as the pen that runs out now. I have no words left to say. No way to sing. Lungs have expired. There is no more a heart, a wound there instead, a pain in my head. This headache is epic. Its grip is unmatched. Its panic increases. My mental health deteriorating. The moment they took from me. My hopes and my dreams. For the lizards have a want for bright, shiny things. It was taken from me, no matter how much it meant to me. Life goes on as I walk this road. It goes through city, and I travel alone, a fog of depression, following me over my head. No way to escape, not even after bed. Suddenly I come to a museum about the history of the Lizard Company and the emperor who founded it. So I walk inside and take a look back at history. A way to confront my pain and unravel the mystery. As I walked up the marble steps, I counted my blessings with the fingers of one hand. As I gazed at the massive marble walls, I saw the beginnings of a corporation, and then how it all went downhill. They tread a path away from the gospel and towards corporate greed. Corporate hands have always shunned those who are most in need. Racking in billions of investments makes one morale, and losing your money makes you deplorable. An inversion of gospel, a power that rules. I saw this dark history. It was all honored here. This was the place where fears began to implode. A life filled with panic, a life in the unknown, no power, no way. I can't buy all these stocks. The only way to win is to have $1 trillion, no other path, no way to the victory. A system designed to never collapse. A heart that is held so firmly in the soul. Job application rejected, but I have a PhD. Words and skills mean nothing. It only matters who you know, what you control and who you can push off a cliff with your power. They'll never prove me wrong. And so I decided to go home and write a book of my experiences with the small fragments of Firefly. Hope that I still had remaining outside of the orb. The pages were written like the power of my blood. My DNA went into these words. An overlooked power, the power of words. A journal, a diary, a documentation of life. For every poor survey that caused me strife. Left in fear for my job, for what was outside my control. A brighter future I hope for. But Lizard Farm will never change. Never listen to fair criticism. Unless it affects their bottom line. A dent in their profits is all I could hope to make. Release the book anonymously and share it online. Hope it would go viral. Hope it would be worth the time for others to gaze at and contemplate in grace. A hope and prayer for the human race. A mobilization, a threat and a power. A life that pressed on and drags hour by hour. Maybe if I held the power, things wouldn't be so bad. So I will keep fighting with all that I have. Here I am still in this museum, theorizing about what I can do, what power I have, in the palm of my hand while I'm away from my desk, but in 3 hours it's time to go back to work, these back-to-back shifts. I saw Mickey Mouse, a silent worker. Never had I ever talked to him before, so I walked up and greeted him, looking for solidarity, looking for a friend, someone to share the words of my book, the remainder of my hopes, written on pages where all my dreams had expired, the last of my hope, the last breath I'd take. Mickey Mouse would listen, and the spirit inside me was now awake, so I began to share with Mickey Mouse the words of my book. He, too, was invigorated by my words.
These are the most beautiful words that I've ever seen. A joy and a protest, a love up till now was unseen. But open it for the world, for all people to see. Post it on the Reddit Lizard Slaves page. And maybe it will be seen. A voice for the voiceless. They're in this fight with you. There are others. A resistance of anonymous voices, voicing their concerns. Divided we fall, united stand. As slaves we are one, to cast off our chains and head off through the town. To demand a better future, a less toxic work environment. This company ain't impervious to criticism. Ever heard of the video United Breaks Guitars? But there's just one thing that you should know. As a voice for the voiceless, a voice for the souls. You can never reveal who you are. Really, you're all of us. We're all one and the same. We all are user 391. We all share the pain. For power is proven truly not by corporate greed, but by true charity, giving to those in need. Our power we wield will save the world. So why don't you post the book and give it a whirl?
And with that, Tiny Tim rushed home to the Reddit forum. He posted his PDF book, painting a picture of his hope, his resistance, and the love in his soul. Not a pretty picture painted of this lizard farm, but he didn't care. He was sharing the truth of a place that had forgotten its meaning and purpose, a better future for customers and associates alike, a life with less anxiety, a life with less strife, with a less toxic culture. He could ask for a raise and pay off his mountains of credit card debt. And a prayer was what he offered for all of the rest, who all were let go one day on Tuesday. 6% of the company left without pay, to fend for themselves in the falling rain, rain falling from the stars, while a vicious lizard in the night searches for hopes and dreams to consume, living off your tears. But at last, there would be resistance. As time went on, the price of Bitcoin started going up $100,000 a coin. Now, Tiny Tim had some digital cash, but no, he could not spend it. Somewhere in his mind, there was a sick fantasy that he could one day buy all the stock of the lizard company, $1 trillion high, and overthrow the emperor with sound monetary policy, rule the company with justice and the people with love and truth, a union that would inescapable and inevitable path of the future, because US dollars were useless and rat poison squared would bankrupt the rat. And there Tiny Tim began to reminisce about the friends he had to lose. Because the job made him lose his mind. A toxic corporate culture costs more than your soul. It costs your family and all your friends and swallows you whole until you cannot breathe or think for yourself. A tragedy in 3 parts. A pain that increases, like the rates of the customers. They always go up. No one will stop it. But we've all had enough.
Here we are taking these calls. I have an underground mission to improve this work culture, a power, a vision, in the eyes of a vulture, watching out for those who are most vulnerable. We will mobilize until it is we who hold the power, who is servicing the customers, who is offering the moats. We are the sailors who keep this ship afloat, the power of a union, the spirit of the times. And the renewal of cancel culture, anonymous postings till we're blue in the face. Only we are the hope of the human race.
And as the day drags on, I continue to think about the future that lies ahead, without my hopes and my dreams. Somewhere in the Todd's office, that is where they wait, until the lizard emperor comes to eat them. Oh, that is their fate.
Not so fast, Tim. There is more to the story. We're going to retrieve from the office your hopes and your dreams. For we've formed a resistance movement of all lizard slaves. An underground movement to break all the chains. You see, the anonymous book you posted last night already has 100,000 views. It's just about to become front page news. A vision for all to see, to hope in the dark. I'll get you into the Todd's office and retrieve what was taken. A life without hopes and dreams is like a life where we're aching for more, for fulfillment, for a love that rings true. Every single moment of my life, I'm begging for an experience away from this place. But I know I must stay to make the world better for all lizard slaves.
For the first time in a long time, Tiny Tim felt a spark, deep down in his soul. The speech left a mark. That book that he posted anonymously on a forum was gaining some traction, was gaining him a platform. So he decided to post more of his experiences. All anonymously, he'd upload the videos to document life here and force them to change. And that day in the office, the talk was ablaze of his posts that went viral all over social media. A power he had. He was a superhero. Tiny Tim by day, user 391 by night. A lesson to teach the world. When it would flood up with light, and so the words flowed through him like fire, a world that was just beginning to realize its true desire of freedom from slavery, to burst through the shell, to make it out in one piece with dignity intact, so he wouldn't have to beg for money somewhere on the street. Even with his paycheck, it wasn't enough to pay for food or rent, inflation too high. A life lived in pain. He didn't want to die. While working a job he could still starve to death, his pay raises would be decreases accounting for inflation. A management deranged. No way they'd take criticism, no way that they'd change. All that was broken was a corporate structure, and his sick fantasy continued. What if he held the power? If he owned the stock, he could make the rules. Bitcoin just hit $200,000. He was on the path to success. A little rat poison squared would take care of the rest. The future would be bright if he had the strength to resist. One day they would all laugh at the ridiculousness of a lizard farm ruled by hedge fund managers unhinged, the enemies of sound money and monetary policy, gaining favors from politicians. Yeah, they're all paid off. A life that is ruined, but chains soon would come off. There would be songs sung of the souls they exploited. Even now, the Todd was plotting in secret. His new AI system to reduce the staff by 99%, because he knew if they couldn't find a job, none of them would pay rent. Get rid of the deplorables who have no money. But in them you should have seen the image of God. He really served Mammon. He was a terrible pawn, not even a good one. But the Todd served his purpose, to create a toxic environment where no one could flourish. And night Tiny Tim, he prayed even for the Todd. He had nothing but goodwill for even his enemies. A company driven to ground and smack with a silver rod into submission. Yeah, a gun to their head. The power of force, no way to survive. A life lived in misery is not a real life. Poem number 6. Resistance. And so Mickey Mouse was on a secret sabotage mission, sneaking to the control room to see what was planned. In the mind of Todd, he knew would come to fruition. A cacophony of bullshit and lies weaved together. The gaslights were brighter in this room. Beyond all, he had to be quick, because had to answer some calls. But what did he see? It shocked even him, brought him to tears, and confirmed his fears. A secret plan to replace all the agents with artificial intelligence, computer-automated agents. The worst fear of associates and customers alike. They were treated so poorly, they were never really needed. The only hope was a hopeless task. Somehow they had to buy all the stock, completely own the company, and make new rules, get revenge on the slave lords and fire them too. And as the tears began to fill Mickey Mouse's eyes, he fled the room, and he wanted to scream, but he cried. As a call came in, and Tiny Tim took the call. He looked at Mickey Mouse with shock. What could be the matter? Mickey Mouse stayed still like a rock. The danger of replacing humans with machines would be disastrous, but good for only their bottom line. Machines don't need pay like humans demand. The ultimate money grab, the ultimate flex. A corporation without employees, that just grabs money. A building filled with robots, like in Cyberdyne Systems. Skynet was rising. but there would be no John Connor. To buy up the stock, an impossible task, and they couldn't bother. But somewhere, somehow, there was a silent hope. A whisper, a silence, while Tiny Tim offered the moat. He knew deep inside what he needed to do. Put his savings into Bitcoin and somehow pay off his debt. What his funds grow until they reach to the sky. Up to $1 trillion, and then he could fire the Todd. Put some new rules in place and make him face the justice of God. It was a fool's hope, an errand of insanity, a wish and a hope that one day he would be free. Tiny Tim was delusional. His mental state was in shambles. As time would go on, his online posts became rambles. He began to lose hope for what he needed to do. A task that was impossible. No way to amass. So much wealth to defeat them. They were the powers of hell. A power so entrenched that it never fell. And meanwhile, the Todd called up all his management, told them his plans, and masked with curtains of greed. He now came up with his latest concoction, a holy Kool-Aid to drink. He asked for volunteers to drink it and see what would happen to them. He promised some raises to whoever would drink, and sup number 2 was the first volunteer. He drank up the poison, and it flowed through his veins. He took it wholeheartedly and sat back in his chair. He relaxed for a moment, but then fell to the floor, started convulsing, and his face turned green, until he was no longer alive as a human being. He had literally transformed into a lizard. He had lost his soul. A hole in humanity was replaced by green. The Todd gave a chuckle and laughed it away. He asked who was next and wanted the merit raise. If anyone were to drink the holy Kool-Aid and obey, they would become a lizard. They would lose their soul. But hey, they'd have more money. At least they'd have a home. Some power built on fiat and debt. They were trying to cancel their customers, get rid of bad business, cut off the staff, replace them with AI and literal lizards. And now the evil plan became quite so clear. A lizard needs money to thrive, but a life without a soul is a life as a lie. Poem number 7, Survey's Termination List. The very next day, Tiny Tim was called into the manager office. He walked in the door and sat in the chair, waited for the manager who welcomed him there, and who did he see? But soup number 2. This man was promoted to manager, but what else had changed? This man was now a literal green lizard. This man was a freak. A man who sold his soul so he could have something to eat. He kind of looked cute. He kind of looked funny. Tiny. Tim had to stop himself from laughing, because this really wasn't funny.
I know what you're thinking about my appearance. Don't worry about it. I've got a new vibe. I now am lizard. I eat money alive. But anyway, you're now on a list. It's time to get crunk and increase your survey score. You've got a week to do it. There will be no warning more. I know the rates have increased by 700%. But you better get that score back in check. I don't care how you do it. Come up with a strategy, or pack your bags and leave. That's all that I have for you. Go out and take calls. Don't make this a tragedy.
And Tiny Tim went off and said nothing but took 10 more calls. All the customers abused him. They told him nasty things. He sat on the phone and listened to all their complaints. He had acted like a therapist without the proper license. That was his job. A life slaving away. All he could do now was sit here and pray that someday, somehow, magically his scores would improve. Out of his control, but he dared them to move. They wouldn't budge. Oh no, they wouldn't change. And each day he came to work, he became more and more deranged. And they didn't give any shits about his mental health. All they could care about was increasing their wealth. And so he would sit there and take all the calls. A life lived in pain is not a life lived at all. And he wondered about what he'd do after work. During 2 full free hours, he would walk aimlessly. Even away from his desk, he would not be free. All he was here was no name and a number, no power, no agency, a small salary, not enough to live on, not enough to be free. He spent a few dollars here, a few pennies there on Bitcoin, hoping one day it would go up. After all this torture, that was all he could take. If there was no hope for him, there was no hope for the human race. Poem number 8. The Lunch Break. Prophecy. Finally, during that day, the clock budged and struck noon, so Tiny Tim walked outside. He couldn't wait to leave the room. He found a bright garden, nestled deep within the trees. Here he knew he would find the hope that he would need. To wind, he prayed for inspiration. It was the only thing that could settle his wrath. Days he would sit reading poetry, Emerson, Dickinson, and Plath. He prayed for inspiration like he was given so many years ago. A weapon he could wield, a spark in his hand. A prayer leads to prophecy. But he was only one man. How in this world he had so very little agency? No power to lift the bonds weighing on his back. How in his life he remembered the places he went, and in this garden had visions and saw people. He lost long ago, a heart torn by torment. He lifted his head to the sky. He echoed a prayer to God, that he would greet him and mark him with love. Away from this place, where words were useless and he was left alone. Who knew that his job would become a death cult? What could he do to cut himself from his bonds? He saw all the love he had experienced through life. He fell asleep in the garden and flew through the clouds. Dreams of the open road, no restrictions, no chains.
Dear God, if you hear me, I hate to complain. But this life ain't working for me. What I need is power, not for myself, but only to lay it down. To unleash the passion of 1,000 souls, bitterly warring against the investors hoping to gain more than the world has to offer. This world will never satisfy anything in the soul. All we ever wanted was peace without regret. But I will sit here and watch the sunset.
And so the sun hid its face in the sky, setting so Tiny Tim could sleep, and his memories would fade away. Waiting for the panic to set in and one day pass, a feeling of sadness and torture, a feeling of uncertainty. The real power was what Tiny Tim already had inside him, the power of all worlds united. He was the true ruler, the one who ruled the stars. For a humble heart is rewarded, and there is a place prepared in hell for all those who make their home in this world. Amassing capital that they don't need, when hungry ones fill the streets. While you think that you are safe indoors, a life and a vision that settled in his mind, away from this bitter prison that swallowed him alive. No pain was greater, revenge is sweet. Take the power to lay it down, for that is truly the Lord's revenge, to upend the system of capital gains, those who thought they were invulnerable, thrown down from their place of power, a rabid dog kept in their basements, waiting to eat its victims alive. But only a humble heart in this world will ever truly thrive. Take the assets and liquidate them. Leave this place to its dust. For dust you are, you shall return. The world cascading into the sun, burned up like we were never here. But love knows no beginning and no end. Passion burns like a bitter fire that consumes the mind and then the body. So Tiny Tim was consumed with his thoughts, and he couldn't share them with a soul. Mickey Mouse was sick. He hadn't been to work in weeks, so shocked from what he had seen, what the Todd was planning to do. All Tiny Tim could do was look up into the sky. The power of a human mind was all he had, and he could sing. The truth that they labeled as heresy. The music inside him was all he would need. Poem number 9, The Tragic End of Mickey Mouse. And so Tiny Tim went back to the office. The place was bustling with movement. It seemed that the dark cloud of Tiny Tim's head followed him wherever he went. He knew that Mickey Mouse had to come back soon, so he casually asked Soup number 2.
Mickey Mouse hasn't been here for quite a while. Do you know when he's coming back?
Soup number 2 smiled with all his lizard teeth showing, a glint in his eye of the happiness in his heart that was growing.
He won't be coming back, you see. That mouse has been terminated. This place is better without him. He was let go for high treason against the Todd. He contrived a plan. And you know his plan has failed. His power proves rebellions fail. Embrace the power of our wealth, which only the stockholders truly have. But we sit here and reap the benefits. He shared a book, you see, written by a user 391 on that vile Reddit page. We were able to track him down. Idiot didn't quite cover his tracks. We also uncovered some naughty things he'd done. You see, he's been prowling in restricted areas. We know this for sure. It's caught on camera. Now get back to work now, you lazy man. And increase your calls per hour. I'm annoyed at you for asking so many questions. To Lizard Emperor, be all the power.
And with that, Tiny Tim did not say a single word more. There was a hopeless feeling inside, a victim of the glimmer in the rich man's eye, as a single tear fell down his face. This was the pain that fell over him. The oceans filled with rage began to swell and stir in his soul. He had to do something. This was a job for user 391, only he could stop this like violence. The night would drag on, the rain would fall. He could not let life drag on the same. His memories faded and they were gone from this place. It was hopeless since he lost the orb. Mickey Mouse was the only hope he had for getting it back. And now Tiny Tim started to feel it, a tickle in his soul, the beginnings of an anger that would swallow him whole. No longer could he sit here and do nothing, a life on the line, a path to the future. He breathed slowly and tried to breathe the life of the new morning. As each day passed him by, he slaved away at his desk, and all he could do was cry inside. A passion inside him, sit by the shore and bask in the bitter rain. He would work alone and be the force that would lead to downfall of the Lizard Emperor. Fighting against the Todd wasn't enough. They would just replace him. That was clear enough. But first he knew he had to find his hopes and his dreams. Armed with rat poison, he signed out of finesse, marched off to the office without locking his laptop. A determination in his face, a power unmasked, a pen that flowed with resolution. He was up to the task. He walked past the soups that had put him down, told him he was worthless and took away his crown. Overlooked his potential, his PhD. Didn't care that he had it, didn't care for his skills. They all would be fired soon, replaced with AI, and the Todd didn't care if any of them screamed or if they died. So with the prayers of the slaves around, he marched the Todd's office, about to demand the orb of his hopes and his dreams. This man is your hero. He's my hero too. Against all the villains, he was raising the roof. Poem number 10, The Todd's Office. And who did he see when he got to the Todd's office? None other but the Todd. But he wasn't alone. Even then, as he sat on his throne, was Sally Slander approaching his desk. For she was about to pass her final test. For her loyalty to the Todd and his power. As Tiny Tim watched in horror for what he heard next.
I know who wrote that book and posted it online. I know the identity of the man who posted it on Reddit. His name is Tiny Tim. And he was quite an idiot. The man is so dumb. The man left a trail, didn't cover his tracks. What an epic fail. I advise you to fire him and grant me my promotion. Give me grade 63. For this information I gave you.
And then the Todd had a sick glint in his eye and heart that was bursting with glee.
Thank you so much, Sally Slander. Find this man and bring him to me. Your efforts are unmatched and he won't get away. He'll either be fired or in prison for libel. Speech hurts my feelings. Those mean things he said. Now go find the man and put my pain to rest. I suffer knowing that he is not yet fired. And he'll be surprised there's not much we need and the true lizard will rise.
And with that, Tiny Tim ran off, so they couldn't find him. But security cameras revealed his location. Nothing he could do to escape from their grip. Sally Slander and Soup. Number 2 dragged him before the feet of the Todd, who stood laughing at him and gave his servants a nod. They shut the door and knew he'd feel pain. The last bitter victim of capital gains.
Poem number 11, The Death of Mickey Mouse. Before I terminate you, Tiny Tim, there's just one thing you need to see. Mickey Mouse wasn't fired yet. He wasn't let go. He's here in the office. He's bound up in chains. So that you can see what happens to those who complain.
And with that, a cage was unlocked and Mickey Mouse was let out. A sadness on his face that a prisoner feels. A darkness in the room. All the love was gone. Mickey Mouse just stood there consumed by bitter silence. A face marked in dirt. A face covered in blood.
There are concoctions we have that can make a man regret the naughty things he's done. You guys just haven't figured it out yet. take a look closer as I make the mouse drink. This concoction, a poison. Don't close your eyes. He'll be screaming, he'll wish he was dead. He'll fall to the floor and he will hit his head on the carpet, getting blood all over my rug, until he arises a lizard like us.
In horror, Tiny Tim watched, with the chains round his wrist, as Mickey Mouse transformed into a lizard, you see, something that he had always known he would never be. But there he was, forced against his will, to drink the holy Kool-Aid and become what he wanted to kill. And then all of a sudden Mickey Mouse looked in the mirror, and he saw himself a monster, hated what he had become, and there would be no future for him, no way to find love. So in that moment he came up with a plan. He jumped at the window. He fell 10 stories, but at least he'd die a free man.
Now it's your turn to take this concoction of mine, Tiny Tim. I swear you need it. I don't care if you scream and you cry.
And then Tiny Tim remembered the weapon he had. The rat poison squared in his pocket had grown potent over time. He wiggled so hard that rat poison fell out, kicked it in the Todd's face, who fell to the ground. Tiny Tim was free for just a moment more, until he was caught. And then all went black. He slept in the darkness, but was taken in a van to another place far away from the office. He expected they'd dump him, somewhere in a river. But when they took the blindfold off of his face, he saw none other than the Lizard Emperor's face, a disarming smile and a charming look in his eye, a man like no other. He sat there sniffing his Coke, drinking it up and offering some. He sat in his chair somewhere in Omaha, overlooking skyscrapers, while the Todd was there too, looking out the window and dreaming of money.
Tiny Tim, you seem to have caused quite a ruckus, but I'm offering you forgiveness. I'm offering you a chance. Come join my side and perform the lizard song and dance. For me, one more time. Open your heart so that you can clearly see. I've already got the apology letter written. Otherwise, you see, we've got a gun to your head. Sign this here letter. Or soon you'll be dead. Life is filled with tough choices. None of them are easy. But your public statement will make me more money. Come here and just sign this, put paper to pen. We aren't enemies, we are truly friends. I'll offer you what you need, a true place of power. By my side, you can have the Todd's job, you see. I see your potential. I understand now, we underestimated your power, but we need you now.
As he spoke, the Emperor opened the orb of Tiny Tim's hopes and dreams, started to fish for fireflies and ate them, one spark at a time. The crunch was unbearable. The fireflies were alive. With each crunch was gone, a hope or a dream. Each crunch was loud and obnoxious, the sound of a million baby screams, and when the Todd heard that he was replaced, he was furious. He screamed and he cried. How could he buy a new yacht without lizard money? So he was carried off to a prison by security. And now it was just the Emperor and Tiny Tim in the room. Tiny Tim was tempted by the proposal, but deep down, he knew. He never wanted a throne. He only wanted peace for others. His love could survive only if he turned it down. He needed his freedom. Only that was the true crown. So Tiny Tim spoke with a tear in his eye.
O Lizard Emperor, I have to say no, for I only want to be a free soul. Money corrupts. It's the root of all evil. I cannot in good conscience lead a company led by you, for power would change me and mess with me too. All I want is simple life with no debt, and the same for all the lizard slaves who can't pay their rent. A life not lived in fear of losing my job. But you would never let me run the company like that. I cannot forgive if there's no sign that you've changed. Money has clearly got you. It's got you deranged. But I have something for you. To give you instead. A token of my gratitude. But don't let it get to your head.
And so Tiny Tim reached in his pocket and offered the Emperor the only thing that he had, some digital currency, some rat poison squared, not knowing what he was offered. The Emperor took it with glee. For anything that looked like currency he loved, he took it and ate it. He ate like he was in love, and with each crunch, it was normal at first. But then there was gut feeling in his stomach, and he feared for the worst. He started to grow and inflate so large as he screamed out some nonsense, to no one at all.
Tyler, Tyler, how dare you give me this poison? I cannot live off sound monetary policy. I only live my life by taking advantage of poverty. I don't think I can live. I can breathe. I'm blowing up. Stop me before I explode. Your hopes with flood the world. As the price of Bitcoin grows, you will never defeat me. Never buy up the company. Someone hold me down before I fly through the air. Oh God, nothing can stop me. It's much too late. I guess I better leave it up to fate.
And with that, the emperor went up and floated into the sky, out through the window and into the clouds, somewhere where he eventually reached up to the sun, exploded into 1,000 shiny shards, sent the price of Bitcoin soaring, literally past the moon. And with that, Tiny Tim knew that he now had a shot, not to spend on himself but a chance to buy the company. So he rushed to Wall Street before anyone could get an idea, bought up the Lizard Company, and imposed some new rules, freed the lizard slaves, and restored justice in truth. For the villains of our lives only have a facade of power. Tiny Tim was welcomed back to the farm as a hero, restored profit sharing and true operating principles. No more mistreatment, no more abuse from the customers. Rates went below normal. No more micromanagement. Treated like a human being. Job expectations realistic. And all it took was a brave heart and generous soul. He stood up against Mammon before it swallowed him whole. The end. User 39. One hopes you enjoyed this recording. Now go share it.